Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 4 of our towns tutorial. I apologize if this is running a little bit longer, but I do want to make sure that you have enough to get yourself self-sustained and then begin messing around with other aspects of the game. I may do a long play or a let's play of this game in the future if people are interested. You'll see here that in between let's plays are mills finished building, and these little bags here are them making flour, and as you can see they automatically start making flour the moment you have mills up. One mill does not seem to be enough to get enough work done, so I always build 2. I've also planted the rest of this tree field because I would like to keep myself stocked with trees. So what we want to do with our flour now is we want to go to our leftmost menu, and we're going to want to click Food, Baking, and this is where all of your supplies gained by baking are going to be. And for me personally, I like to keep 10 bread on hand at any given time. That seems to be the sweet spot for the early game. And now you will see they will go to work, taking this flour, they will take it to the bakery, and they will start turning it into bread. And once we have bread, we can begin planting fruit trees. I'm going to take this opportunity as well to start destroying some of the other trees around our boundaries. We do have a military now, so tree keepers are not going to be an issue. Mr. Marinier is our city guard, and he's got a reasonably decent... He doesn't have the best attack value I've ever seen for the early game, but he does have a good attack value. I've seen attack values upwards of 1400 in the early game, which is pretty much the best soldier I've ever seen. And there's our first piece of bread, and she's going to bring it over here to the stockpile. Once we have a reasonable supply of bread, I am going to start using some of our apples and some of our bushes to go ahead and make an orchard. Trees have not rebloomed, so we are kind of subsisting on just basic things right now, basic apples, pears, and bread. But we are much closer at this point to being self-sufficient and not having to worry about things. You'll see it's day 5, so keeping an eye on my time, I'm gonna go ahead and make a market zone right now, because on day 10 we don't want to lose track of time. We do want market people to show up, because markets are the #1 way to shore up what you don't have, and since we don't have anything on the surface right now, any coal, anything like that, we are going to need to buy it in the early game, because digging downwards is generally just a bad idea. Every time I've dug downwards, it has ended in heartache, misery, and half my society dying when I unleash a torrent of spiders and slimes from the dungeon below. So I would prefer that my city be a little bit tougher before we do that. I'm also going to take this opportunity to show you how to deal with your storage needs. You can build storage through the rightmost menu over here, and it's the little barrel at the bottom left corner. You click on that, and there's different barrels for different things that you're storing. This is a little bit different from games like Nemoria, where the containers are generic until you put them into a stockpile, and they gain their identity by the stockpile that they're in. What I like to do is, for my raw materials, just make a bunch of these right here, just so everything looks a little cleaner, and we can make the stockpile smaller. Actually, I'm going to show you a different technique that I like to use. In order to shrink your stockpile quickly, what I like to do is make a second stockpile for my materials. And this is just me personally. This is by no means the end-all be-all of what you should be doing. But if I was to have a stockpile, I think I'd want it probably over here in this region. So I'm going to kill some of these bushes with the destroy command. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and make a raw material stockpile probably over here, because this is where I want raw materials at. So there we are. Take raw materials, and I'm just going to make a 5x5 like with everything else. And I know my spacing's off. It's fine. We won't worry about it. We're going to make it actually connect, I think, to our market in the future, or we may not get that far. I just want to show you how to do things. And then what I like to do is just take this and just line it with barrels. Each of these barrels holds 10 objects, so you are going to want a substantial amount of them, and you can build more as is necessary and as time allows. I'm not sure if they'll be able to access that corner barrel, but I'm not going to worry about it. And you'll see they'll come down here and start gathering wood, and what is this individual doing? Sometimes your villagers are prone to abject stupidity. They wander off. There's no enemies down here, so I'm not very worried about it, but I don't know why she's going off in the boonies like this. What are you doing, miss? Ah. She's going to collect bones, so you'll see even though... Ah, I built a new stockpile. That's the problem. So that one was my fault. I didn't pause the game, and I didn't disable bones. That realization hit me like a bolt of lightning there. Like, why is she going and getting that all of a sudden? Because I built a stockpile. And so now my people are going to start getting themselves into trouble because I didn't manage my stockpile properly. And I think that's the only thing that I don't want in there. You'll see we have a reasonably sized bit of bread piling up here. So that means we should be able to... Let me see what my bread stockpiles are looking like. You can do that easily through the food menu and the baking. We have 10 food on hand. Fantastic. That's right where we want to be. And I think now I'm going to show you how to build a building up and just kind of get that going so I can show you how to build a roof properly, because there is a lot of confusion over building roofs. The roof building is not exactly well designed. It doesn't work exactly how you would think it would. And so hopefully someone's going to start constructing these barrels so I can show you my really cool Splattercat technique for shrinking your stockpile size. Or maybe not so really cool. There's probably somebody who has a better idea out there than me, but this is just how I like to do it because it feels organized to me. And hopefully... What was that? A cow dying. Okay, whatever. We don't care about cows. And I would like everyone just to be at work right now, so... They are going to start chopping down our trees to get room for more logs because apparently we're below our 30 count. And there's our first storage barrel. And she is hungry, so she's going to go eat now. And we're going to keep a close eye. Right now, you really want to keep a close eye when you switch from eating mostly fruit to eating mostly bread. This phase, you want to keep a close eye on your food stocks. Because sometimes you'll feel as though you have tons of food, and then all of a sudden you'll see everybody's hungry, and you'll be like, oh my god, what happened? We had like 20 bread stocked. They ate it all. Sometimes they eat in bursts, and sometimes they eat really fluidly. It just depends on what configuration of villagers you get. If you've got a bursty society that always seems to get hungry at the exact same time, and everybody eats up all your food on the exact same moment, you're going to want to keep an eye on that. And you're going to want to have your food stocks be a little broader so you can survive things like that. We do still have our scaffolding up here for building, so that's good. And I'm just kind of looking around to make sure everybody's doing what they should be doing. And they're gathering food. Where did we got that steak? Ugh. Wasn't expecting there to be steaks, but we'll go ahead and disable all raw food for now. Additionally, a really good way to keep people from going out and getting things from a field is to go ahead and build the farms that produce those things, because then they can get them from a closer location, and the AI is like, hoo-hoo, and it just does it from the closest location, so that eliminates the problem as well. So I may actually go ahead and build some chicken farms and things, but not actually utilize them. In fact, I think that's exactly what I'm going to do. So from the same spot that we built our mill, I'm going to go down here to buildings. We're going to make a cow farm. We're going to place that reasonably close to the rest of our farms. We're going to go ahead and get a chicken farm ready as well. And then, do we have scootin' beatins? I don't know if I've seen any scootin' beatins. Yeah, we do have a scootin' beatin, which is a word that I love to say. I sincerely enjoy saying the word scootin' beatin. But, we don't have... That scootin' beatin is going to put us into contention with these froggies up here, and I'd rather keep my people uninjured. They are using up some wood now to make all these barrels, and I'll show you the purpose to which we're making all these barrels in just a moment. And they're getting to work down here. You'll see, that's a mighty strong woman right there, just carried a cow over to the farm. Every time I see somebody just hefting a cow over their shoulder, it makes me kind of smile to myself. That is one of the little glitchy niche things that I like about the art style. And so now we have cow farms and chicken farms, and they are on automatic mode, but in order to make these work, I'm not going to do this right now because that's going to make my building queue a little too high. I'm already not getting things done as rapidly as I would like to. There are things just kind of laying around. There's not enough hauling going on. So if you want them to start gathering automatically from your farms, it's important to know that you can go here to your food menu, just like before, like they do when they gather from your fields, and you're going to go to the butchering menu. Now, we don't have a butchery, but let's say we were to set that up. We were going to go down here to our zones menu, and in our zones menu, let me see here. Actually, I think it's kitchen. It's not called a butchery, it's called a kitchen. And there we are. Wait, was that the kitchen? Huh, the kitchen has a weird spool of thread in it, and that threw me off. There we are. We build ourselves a kitchen. And once again, this is not how I would space my city. I'm just doing this to get the zones built to show you how to do everything. And had we that, we would go over here to our utilities, and we would build ourselves a kitchen table. And we would build ourselves a butcher's table. And right now would be a good opportunity to fast forward the game. If you're watching this on YouTube, just jump ahead a bit, because there is a lot of hauling and things to do. So there's not going to be a lot of interesting things going on right now, but you can see our city is getting more and more automated. And now that I have the kitchen, and let's say that those tables were built in there, we would go over here to our butchery menu, and you would just say how many of each type of meat you want on hand at a time. And also that's how you get bones for making bone stuff, like bone weapons, bone armor, etc. And we could set, 10 chickens is how many we want to have in our stockpile at a time, and they would start just grabbing chickens out of here. Or we could say we want 10 steaks, and then we just start grabbing steaks out of here. Steaks are important because you can make a very useful food under your baking. You can make meat pies with pork steaks, or with regular steaks. And meat pies give you 100% fill, which is pretty much the best I think you can get from the baking menu aside from banana bread. And there we are. You'll see they're moving our entire stockpile over here, so what we're going to do is we're going to just delete it. We don't even need this stockpile anymore because they're going to start moving everything. You can check the contents of any barrel by just mousing over it. It looks like we have plenty of raw materials barrels left, although I think I'm going to build a few more, just in case, for future stocks. So I'm going to make them in little rows, because I like the way it looks. And there we are. So we've got the room for 60 more materials here. We're on day 6. Our food supplies are looking fantastic. So much so to the point that I'm actually kind of thinking about moving us over to meat pies instead of for bread and just automating the cow farm. But for now, actually, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to get that moving. I'm going to show you how to upgrade to better types of stuff. But we don't have our butchery table made yet, so we're going to wait just a moment. But for now, everyone's eating well. We accept the sacrifice of our first poor villager that decided to run off and do dumb stuff as kind of a sacrifice upon the altar. It had to happen. I'm going to chop down this tree right here because it's in the way of my organization. And what I'm going to do now is down by my farm, I'm going to start making the exact same thing that I did for up here. Yeah, we do have a lot of things going on right now. So I think for the time being, let me take a look at my stocks and see how much flour I have on hand. I have 10 flour on hand. I may turn off automatic production from one of these mills. Did you get in a fight? No? Okay. I'm going to turn off automatic production from one of the mills so that we have a little less milling going on. That's going to free up people to start moving things around a little better, I think. And once all these barrels are built, our wood stockpiles, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to eyeball what stocks we have, but just remember you can access that with F2 or by going up to the stock panel here and going to materials. And you can take a look and see exactly how much stone you have, how much wood you have. It's just a little bit easier. And you'll see that our barrels are almost completely placed. And we do have a lot of wood on hand, so I'm going to take this opportunity to finish this building. So you want to make sure of what layer you're on. I'm going to eyeball and make sure that I'm on level 2. I'm going to go to walls, wooden walls where we were before. I'm just going to start stacking these walls up. Now, if you had any glass on hand, which you can make by building a smelter, and then by taking mud and pumping it into the smelter, you can make glass. You would punctuate these with windows. Windows can be accessed, I believe, not through the others menu, Let's see here. It's been a little bit since I built a window. Maybe it's under decorative? Nay, it is not under decorative. Well, I'll track that down. Maybe it's furniture. There we go, furniture. Windows are under furniture. I don't consider a window to be furniture, but that's where they are. You can get to windows from here, and they take wood and glass, but we don't have any glass, so unfortunately our people are going to live in darkness for a little bit. I prefer to make my buildings 3 tall. There's a tutorial on the forums that showed me how to do that, so I'm not going to take credit for that, but I do feel that a building that is 3 tall tends to be the most aesthetically pleasing. 2 tall you can do. I think even 1 tall you can do. You can make little ground level kind of Scottish medieval looking huts if you would like to, but I prefer to make them 3 tall. And you'll see now that everybody's a little more busy. Food stocks may dwindle for a bit, but you can affect your queue here. These are your people's priorities, and I always try to keep baking and cooking on the top. That tends to be the default that they have here, tends to be the best spot to have things. By default, the order seems to be pretty good. However, if you did want to adjust that for any time being, you can just click these up, and there you are. And it'll just shift the priorities, but we're not going to do that. Baking is always going to be our highest priority, and I think this is a good spot to cut off this episode. So this has been Splattercat. It's been a pleasure playing this game with you, and thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the next episode.